Hey guys, jumping into a live game in progress here. We're going to just get right into it because they're on like turn 7 or 8 in real time right now and I missed it. So I'm just going to very quickly restart it and let it play. It is live, McMagan against Blightbringer for CALLOUS Invitational. CALLOUS Invitational 3 round 5 lower bracket to be precise, and that makes this an elimination match. Like I said, in real time, they are on turn, I think, 7 or 8, probably even a little bit further now. So I'm just letting it catch up, and hopefully we don't miss too much of this via the live narration. Blightbringer seems to have some kind of balanced or physical offensive team, whereas McMagan appears to have some kind of TSS. It's playing so rapidly right now because these turns have already happened, but once we get to a point where they're actually thinking and we're actually caught up, which I hope we actually get to, then we should be okay. We do see that it is Wish Bliss. That could matter a little bit later. See what else we've got here. Yeah, I mean, doesn't look like a hardcore team in one direction or another. Like I said, a balanced or physical offense team for Blight. Kind of a TSS for McMagan, but I mean, it's not all in on the stall plan. It does have a Star Me, so perhaps it's a little bit more balanced on his end as well. See what happens here. Just waiting for it to hopefully catch up to where we actually are. Lax has shown just return and curse, so we don't know if he has EQ here. It'd be a great opportunity to do so, of course, if he does. There's Rock Slide and return. So I would think that he would have gone Earthquake there if he had it, so my guess would be that he doesn't, but I suppose it's not... Well, he's going to switch out of it, so like I said, you would think he would have gone for it there, so he probably doesn't have it. Swampert gets shown. Critical hit Earthquake on the way in for Starmie here. That's pretty huge. 82%. That puts Starmie way on the back foot. Salamence sneaks in. Recover. Yeah, no lefties here, so that looks like a choice band lead. Rachi comes in as a response, and that turns out to be the right response. That's Hidden Power, presumably flying, therefore bounces off the flying resist in Jirachi. Looks like an Asterachi, shows Body Slam here, does get the 60% para thanks to Serene Grace on Selby on the way in. No, it's not an Asterachi, he's got Substitute. Interesting set here, Body Slam and Sub, and combined, those are going to block Leech Seed here. Now he changes it up to Fire Punch, and Selby simply recovers back to 100%, but does it have any meaningful way to actually destroy this sub? My guess would be no. Gonna switch to Lax, and that's gonna be Fire Punched as well. Of course, in its current paralyzed state, it cannot be burnt. T-Tower is gonna be the response, as it was before, and Lax, not that I think it has Earthquake, I believe that he does not at this point, but he is unable to punish due to full para, and yay! We are finally caught up. This is where they are in real time. Here comes a Focus Punch. Selby comes in, takes it on the chin, 25%, but of course Selby does resist that, so ends up taking it just fine. See what they both do from here. Selby hasn't shown too much, just Leech Seed and Recover, I believe. Yeah, so we don't actually know if it can hit the T-Tower or not. That's a nice little switch, though. Moltres sneaks in against the Jirachi, and that's obviously going to be favorable for Moltres. McMagan going to have to respond to this. The obvious thing being Blissey. Blightbringer could potentially capitalize on that as well. So yeah, it's not a purely physical team since it is rocking the Moltres. It is a balanced offensive team, it seems, from Blightbringer. Pretty chill. And Lax is, in fact, the switch into Blissey, which is what we thought it would be. But can the Lax actually do anything to the T-Tower in particular? That is yet to be determined. And again, it's going to be the Lax getting paralyzed as the T-Tower comes in, but I'm still not actually convinced that even if it weren't paralyzed, that the Lax can meaningfully hurt the T-Tower. I mean, it can hurt it more than not at all with return, but that's just not going to be good enough. He's going to need something, either a self-destruct or an Earthquake or some obscure hidden power such as Bug or Steel if he really wants to get that T-Tower. And Earthquake on a whiff on Zapdos. There is still one unrevealed poke in this game that belongs to Roro. Zapdos against Pert now. I don't believe we've seen Hidden Power. I lied. We have seen it one time. That's what happens when you miss stuff when you're trying to catch up. The hidden power was, let me try to scroll up and find that here. Oh, it was not very effective against Magneton earlier, so that doesn't tell us anything. That could still be ice or grass. On this team, I think grass makes more sense because it doesn't look to me like Roro's team has a bunch of great Swampert switch-ins, and I don't know that it needs an ice attack. Blissey might have Ice Beam. The Starmie could have Ice Beam. We still don't know what the last poke is. It could easily be a bulky water. So I think on paper, HP Grass makes more sense to me. There is a rest from Lax. Driver's seat belongs to Roro, I believe. He's got the tempo right now. I mean, I don't think either player is blatantly ahead, but it feels like it is Blightbringer reacting to Roro as opposed to the other way around. Focus Punch does get protected against, but there's nothing to prevent the T-Tower from Focus Punching again here. Very well may. Earthquake pops the sub, and it is Focus Punch, but the Pert takes it pretty well, pretty bulky. Only 40% from that Focus Punch. Starmie, and that's going to get hit by Hydro Pump here. 26% on the way in, but we already know, we saw earlier, that it does have Recover and is likely to do that here. Earthquake 44%. Blightbringer fishing for a crit here as McMegan is stuck here just recovering. At some point he could decide it's not worth it anymore. Like right now he could say, okay, my Starmie's healthy enough and switch out. But he does not. He goes for the recover again, and he gets it back up to 100% as Blightbringer switches into it with the Celebi, which I believe still has not shown an attack. It has not. It's shown only Leech Seed and Recover, so we still don't know if it can actually hit anything, but the recurring problem seems to be that Blightbringer does not have a good way to break the Blissey. That seems like the most important Pokemon thus far for Roro. The Celebi can annoy the crap out of it with Leech Seed, but I don't know that he can meaningfully hurt it, and the Moltres can't break it either, and I doubt the Magneton can either. So the Blissey seems like a very important Pokemon in this match for Roro. If he can kill the Blissey, Blightbringer that is, then I think he's in reasonable shape. But I'm looking, and without, a crit or a huge screw-up from Roro, I'm also not clear as to how Blightbringer actually does kill the Blissey. I don't think that Roro's going to be dumb enough to leave it in against the Choice Band Mence or leave it in against the Lax or anything like that. So if Roro is safe with his Blissey, I'm not sure how Blightbringer is going to break it. That being said, if we're assuming that Blissey is always going to be safe and get out of the way when Moltres or Celebi or whatever is in, when something other than one of those is in, then maybe Blightbringer can switch accordingly. Like maybe Blightbringer can dangle out Moltres to prompt in the Blissey and then use that as an opportunity to get the Lax or the Salamence in and create tempo in that way. So we'll see what they both decide to do. Like I said, thus far the Blissey seems tough. It doesn't look to me like Blightbringer has made tremendous progress in this game, whereas I do see McMegan chipping away bit by bit at Blightbringer here. Last poke, unsurprisingly, was a bulky water, in this case Swampert for Roro. It's another one of the stereotypical Roro teams that I have long criticized him for because I feel like it is very do-nothing. It is not my jam. But then again, I mean, he seems to consistently prove me wrong. He seems to consistently win with these teams, even though I'm not personally a fan of them. There's the sub, once again preventing a possible Leech Seed. And yeah, Celebi still has not he showed hidden power, but not very effective on Rachi. Just shows us that it's probably HP Grass. I mean, in theory, it could be HP Ice, but HP Grass by far the more likely thing. And it means that Celebi has absolutely no way of breaking through here. That hidden power is going to be not remotely close to taking out the sub there if it is HP Grass or Ice. Neither of those are going to be even close to enough damage. Not sure what the plan is for Blightbringer. He's got to have another way. Celebi is not really going to beat this Rachi. Now granted, at the same time, the Rachi is going to take forever to beat the Celebi, so maybe this is just a stall it out, fish for PP kind of plan. But yeah, I don't really know how this matchup really goes anywhere for either guy, to be totally and completely honest. It is a switch now for Roro. Even though he had that substitute up, he still did not like the matchup enough. And a switch for Blightbringer as well. Yeah, I mean, this is not the fastest match I've ever seen. We're 52 turns in, everything's still up, nothing's super close to a knockout. This could grind, but just thinking forward to how this is going to end or how either guy is going to break this, I do see ways that Roro can break it. I'm having a harder time seeing how Blightbringer can break it. I think the key for Blightbringer would have to be getting in the choice band ments at opportune times and then also making correct predictions. Because there is sand going on, so every time the ments comes in / every time the ments is wrong, he's going to take sand damage, which you can only do so many times. There is no wish user for Blightbringer, though there is, I guess, Leech Seed for Celebi that can theoretically heal the Salamence a little bit. But yeah, overall, it looks to me like Roro is ahead right now. Looking over his team right now, just hovering over the health, everything is very healthy for Roro, whereas the Mence is less than half for Blightbringer. The Magneton, I mean, it's healthy, but it just doesn't have a lot of purpose in this matchup. Yeah, I mean, I guess everything's in good shape for Blightbringer, and I don't think he's dead. I'm not calling this. I'm not saying that Roro has already won this game, but if I had to venture a guess as to who's going to win this game, I've got to think that it's probably Roro here. I don't think that's a lock. I don't think it's over, but I think that the inevitability favors Roro. There are outs for Blightbringer, but the Blissey just seems like a real problem. That seems like a flaw of Blightbringer's team, in which just a very generic TSS team, one that doesn't even have spikes, actually, so just a generic reactive sand team that doesn't really even have a lot of pressure, as Roro's team does not. Just a very reactive team with a very standard wall in Blissey is just giving him this much of a problem. Zapdos on Celebi now. Magneton comes in, and Zapdos eats the wish, so that is back up to 100%. See what they both want to do here. Both players thinking it over. This is happening in real time, which is why some turns there is a bit more of a pause than others. Right now it is Roro who's taking the time. Blightbringer is already locked in whatever decision it is he wants to make, though he could, of course, hit the cancel button. And it is just a Blissey switch into the Mag, which makes perfect sense, and a Toxic. Magneton, we established, doesn't have lefties, could have something obscure like Charcoal, but most likely it is simply a Magnet, which makes sense to me because he's relying on Mag as not just his Scum removal, but also his Spikes removal. Therefore, the difference between Mag and no Mag might be a full additional layer of Spikes, which Blightbringer obviously wants to avoid letting come down if he can help it. Both players taking the time now. Blightbringer down to just 90 seconds, actually. And he's going to have a small advantage this turn. He doesn't even gain lefties because he doesn't have them, but he does get additional poison damage for free by protecting here. See what Roro wants to do. Roro doesn't actually have a fantastic switch to this Magneton, but I also don't know that he needs to have a fantastic switch to the Magneton because it's just not that big of a threat. What he does need to do is he needs to not get his Blissey killed here. I would not like to see Roro stay in and soft-boiled here. He is begging for a crit, and even without one, between the poison damage and the incoming probable Thunderbolt, I really don't think the net gain of the soft-boil would be that great. Yeah, there's a huge problem. He's got to stay in and get crit. That is a huge, huge, huge problem. And all of a sudden, Blightbringer looks like he's in pretty good shape in this match that I did not think he was in great shape in before. I really don't like the way that was played by Roro. I don't understand why he stayed in as long as he did. Again, maybe he thought he didn't have a good switch. But losing the Blissey changes this in a big way. Now I think Blightbringer's in great shape. Now I think that the Moltres is a real threat for sure that Roro has a hard time switching into. I think that the Magneton now is a lot tougher than it needed to be. I think the Celebi now is a real threat that Roro can't necessarily deal with. I mean, he can switch out of Leech Seeds, but yeah, the Celebi now is really, really annoying. And again, there's not really a great switch. I now think the advantage definitely belongs to Blightbringer after that sequence. Here's the switch. Swampert comes in on a body slam, does get paralyzed. Here's the sub. And Celebi versus Jirachi once again. This was a go nowhere matchup before, and I can't imagine it would change too much now. But they're both sticking it out for the time being. We have seen both players at various points in the match switch out of this matchup. Not necessarily because they're getting killed, but probably because it's going nowhere. There again is the Jirachi hiding behind a sub. Blightbringer struggling to find a switch. Moltres paralyzed here is bad. I don't know if it was modest or if it was timid to begin with, but either way, Moltres definitely cares about its speed. It now doesn't outspeed things like the Tyranitar and the Swampert, and that absolutely could matter. Man, this has been a very back and forth game. I don't know. It kind of almost still feels like Roro's winning now. It feels like maybe he shouldn't be still winning now, but maybe he is. It's a tough one. This is a tough one. I'm really not sure who's winning. It's felt very back and forth, but that's probably a good thing, right? I think back and forth games are generally more fun to watch, as in general. Hidden Power Grass, so not that we actually thought it was ice, but now we know for a fact it's grass, is going to break the sub for T-Tar. Hidden Power Bug back for 92%. Celebi's not liking too many of those. See if he stays in here and dies in exchange for Hidden Power. He's pretty damn low. It's going to be hard to get him recovered in the future. Blightbringer might be resigned to letting it go here, but no, he's not willing. He's going to switch it up. Here comes Salamence. Lucky he didn't just need a Focus Punch or a Rock Slide to kill him. It is Hidden Power. That is Bug. He resists that. He takes it fine. He's down to just 28% after Sand, but nonetheless, he is alive. Blightbringer down to 20 seconds here. He needs to watch the timeout. And he's going to end up switching after all that, as opposed to taking a gamble on Choice Band. Granted, it's pretty tough there. I mean, Rock Sliding there as Salamence is a difficult play to make. It would have been the right play, but it's a hard play to make. See what they both want to do from here. There's Thunderbolt. Wow, there's a critical hit now for McMegan. That's going to kill the Lax. I'm not sure where the Lax was on its sleep counter. That may or may not have mattered. It looks like maybe it didn't, because the Salamence would have taken the Thunderbolt, and then Zapdos would have been faster and Thunderbolted again and probably killed it anyway, so maybe the crit didn't matter. But it's cool for dramatic effect. And I'm not sure how Blightbringer is losing this game, but he's losing this game. Roro, despite losing the Blissey, which I really didn't like, I think is going to be in the advantageous position here. Blightbringer down to 15 seconds, 10 seconds, as he thinks over what to do. Salamence was hit by the sand first. He is faster here, but Blightbringer has 5 seconds to make a play. We might have our first timeout here of the CALLOUS Invitational. Nope, now it's Roro on the clock. Blightbringer, with only 10 seconds or fewer remaining, did lock in his move. Roro has plenty of time. Roro has 3 minutes left. But Blightbringer is back against the wall due to the timer. Not sure what Roro was thinking about. I guess he's just trying to guess the choice span move. What is this? What is the Swampert at? 71%. Rachi at a hundo. Rachi feels relatively safe here. I guess he doesn't want to get donked by Earthquake. Roro really thinking it over. The pressure's really on Blightbringer here. I mean, Roro obviously doesn't want to choke, but it's Blightbringer that has to pick the perfect choice span move here. And it could happen. I mean, he could knock something out here with the right call. Brick Break? No! Hidden Power. That is going to whiff. I'm not sure what that Hidden Power is aimed at. What would that have... That just, I don't know. It seems like a weird choice span play there. Unless he just doesn't have Rock Slide, but I'm not sure... Yeah, I really don't know what the Hidden Power target would have been. That would not have devastated anything other than, I guess, the Starmie, which I think is also healthy. Yeah, it wouldn't have killed the Starmie or the Swamp, but that wouldn't have killed anything without a crit. And there's three things that it wouldn't have killed: the T-Tower, the Zapdos, or the Rachi, even with a crit. So I'm really not... I'm not sure that Hidden Power is the right play there. I think that Blight needed to take a risk there and go for something like Rock Slide or Earthquake and just hope that the right thing switches in. I don't know how he can claw back into the game without that. And at this point, I think that he can't, because the Moltres is paralyzed, remember. Maybe that would have had a chance to clean up, maybe, if not for the paralysis. But with it being in that state, I'm just not... I'm not seeing it. And I believe this game one is going to go the way of Roro. That is all but locked up at this point. It is only the paralyzed Moltres remaining, and I don't think it's remaining for very long. It'll be remaining only for a couple of moments while we wait for Blightbringer and Roro to both click. There's the Moltres. Rock Slide could theoretically miss here, and it doesn't, but even if it did, the other things would easily clean it up. So that one's going to be a one-sided victory for Roro, which, honestly, like I said, given what happened with the Blissey, I didn't think that it would be, but I was wrong. I still don't like McMegan's uber-reactive teams, but when the opponent does not bring an optimal team, or at least not an optimal team in the matchup, sometimes it just plays out like this, and he's going to put Blightbringer one game away from elimination. Stay with me here as we wait for that to begin, and we'll see who takes it down. I will pause my speaking for just a moment to grab a drink, but when the game resumes, we'll be there. Well, I'm back for my drink, but the players have not resumed quite yet. Yeah, I thought that... I don't know how I feel about game one. I don't know. I guess I didn't love Blightbringer's team. I mean, maybe that's too results based. Maybe it looked worse than it actually was, just because of the way that the matchup was. But it felt to me like once the Blissey went down, that Blightbringer should have had the advantage, but it just did not at all play out that way, and that's unfortunate. I've got a question after seeing what I saw, how good Blightbringer's team actually was. I mean, I'm not trying to shit on it. I've seen Tama and other players use similar teams, so I mean, I don't think it was terrible. I've seen it win, but I don't know. It feels like right now in current ADV, there's like three truly viable archetypes that are just really dominant, and that kind of team, just like a safe, balanced, I've got good Pokemon, I'm playing it kind of safe kind of team that Blightbringer had. I don't know, it's just not one of those archetypes, I don't think. I just didn't love the team. It just seemed to struggle with Blissey, and really with just bulky things in general, quite a bit. And then, yeah, and then even after the Blissey, it just couldn't really capitalize. I'm not sure how much of that was McMagan outplaying him, or how much of that was the team not being up to snuff, or how much of that was matchup, but that game just ended up being really one-sided. That game just ended up being very heavily a Roro game. He took him down, what, 5-0 final score? Yeah. We'll see what they both want to do game 2. I mean, Roro, I think, is going to stick to his guns. Roro plays the way that he plays. He won game 1. It wasn't super close. When you're in that position, I just don't see a reason to change things up. Blightbringer, I think, is the one who has to make adjustments. Roro, after winning, should make Blightbringer react to him. The question is, what do you do in this position if you are Blightbringer? I would not run a similar team that I did last game. I would take a different approach. I think that Roro is going to run something probably fairly similar to what he just ran. So I think that Blightbringer should switch it up. What exactly that means, I'm not sure. But, yeah, I mean, if you think that Roro is going to be on this, like, do-nothing reactive plan, as he so often is, maybe you look at a Heracross, or maybe you look at some kind of baton pass chain, or something very proactive, maybe a boom spam team from Blightbringer. But I don't think you play the do-nothing mirror match against Roro. That just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. And I don't think balance is the way to go either, because balance just does not have enough pressure to break through the very sturdy do-nothing teams that Roro likes so much. So yeah, I think you either go very, very hard spike stall if you're Blightbringer, or you go very, very proactive. But I don't think a balanced approach is going to be the way to do it, because if you don't have enough pressure, or if you're not very dedicated to your plan, I don't think you can break the teams that Roro likes to bring. So we'll see what they both want to do. I switched the sides again, so they're both where they were before. We are finally starting game 2. Roro, that's McMagan, is on the bottom. Blightbringer is on the top. Zapdos and T-Tower lead respectively. This could be the last game in the tournament for Blightbringer if he doesn't beat McMagan here, and even if he does, there will be a third game. And there's an immediate BP out for Roro. Metagross going to be the recipient. Rock Slide there, critical hit 55%, possibly a Choice Bander based on that damage. And Metagross is not going to gain lefties, so there actually could be 2 Choice Banders here. But on something that doesn't have lefties, crits actually matter. So Metagross definitely took a bit more damage there than it otherwise could have. However, Metagross is going to be faster here, and would definitely, if it is Choice Banded, KO the T-Tower, the Meteor Mash. So it's going to be on Blightbringer to react to this. And it's going to be Gengar. Oh, wow. Oh, wow. I thought that play was sketchy as hell, because I thought Meteor Mash was so obvious from Roro, and the Gengar would have gotten donked by Meteor Mash. But instead, Blightbringer somehow predicts the explosion, and he gets the Metagross to blow up into thin air. So huge advantage for Blightbringer there. I really thought that would have been a Meteor Mash turn. I was very skeptical when I saw the Gengar. I thought it was about to get punched in the mouth by a +1 mash, but that is not what happened. Great start for Blightbringer as he kills the Metagross basically for free after critting it and then forcing it to blow up into nothingness. And Roro changing it up a bit as well. This could be the team that he used in the finals of Classic, with the agility Zapdos passing to the bulk up Machamp and just letting it go to town. And indeed, he could do heavy damage here. Cross Chop with a crit, which does come, would simply one-hit KO that Scum. Gengar on Machamp now. But yeah, that crit was big because, I mean, the Drill Peck non-crit did 60% to Machamp. So if the Machamp hadn't crit him back, then this would be all Blightbringer. Blightbringer, I think, is still ahead, but it would have been a bit of a stomp, I think, had Blightbringer not been crit there. Cross Chop, of course, does have an increased chance of crit, but it's also still far more likely that it doesn't happen than it does. And it's going to be Blightbringer making the switch. Lax with the curse. The fact that he's bothering to curse while he's burnt would indicate to me that it is a rest Lax. Otherwise, I don't see a whole lot of purpose to this. And he goes Shadow Ball, thinking that Gengar would come in. Roro seems a bit off his game. He's had a couple of questionable predictions after blowing up into thin air and then Shadow Balling into the T-Tar here. Now, granted, it doesn't help that Blightbringer has gotten crits with his T-Tar twice, his Choice Band T-Tar twice. But yeah, Roro has been off his game a little bit this game. We're only 11 turns in, but there's been a couple of boo-boos. It almost feels like it's already over. Yeah, I mean, the Machamp is very low. The Claydol took a crit. It feels like Blightbringer is miles ahead, and maybe I'm calling that too early. We're only on turn 12. I mean, maybe I'm getting ahead of myself here, but it feels like Blightbringer is considerably ahead right now. It really feels like maybe this team is kind of all-in-ish for McMegan. It has a plan, it either works or it doesn't, and then when it doesn't work, there's not really much of a backup plan. And yeah, I mean, the hacks are not helping. There's a freeze. There's been 2 crits and a freeze from Blightbringer's end. I don't know how much it matters because it really feels like Blightbringer's ahead anyway, but it is not in any way helping the case for Roro. See what they both want to do here. Zapdos gets met with Blissey, not a surprise. Hidden Power gets shown here. Lax comes in. That goes down. Yeah, I mean, the Lax and the Machamp were both on their deathbed, so we're going to be down to 2 pokes momentarily. Trying to get some use out of Machamp before it goes. Swampert comes in. Rock Slide, that was aimed at Gengar. It is again going to be Blightbringer out-predicting Roro here, as it has been throughout the game. This one is just not going his way. Gengar comes in. Wow, yeah, Blightbringer just in his head this game. This one has just been, both from the hacks and the outplays perspective, this game too has been all Blightbringer. There was that one crit that cross-chop happened on the Scarm, but other than that, this game has been all Blightbringer, and it is looking all but certain that we're going to a 3rd game. And there is a T-Wave. Yeah, I mean, McMegan not conceding, and I don't blame him. That's absolutely his prerogative. And we don't know what the last poke is, so theoretically there's still a chance. I don't actually remember what the last poke. There we go. No more suspense. It's Tyranitar. DD HP Grass Tar maybe can sweep here. Maybe. If he has that specific set. And the last poke for Blight isn't Dugtrio. I mean, there's so many things that would have to go right for Roro to steal this game. He has more than a 0% chance to do so right now, but it's real slim. Blightbringer's the one taking the time. He's just making sure he does not choke this game. He's thinking of every possible ridiculous, obscure Tyranitar set that it could possibly be here, and making sure that he does not choke. What if it has random XYZ combination, some random substitute Focus Punch, HP Grass, baloney? I mean, something like that. Substitute Focus Punch, HP Grass, Crunch would actually be ridiculous here, and would be a massive problem for Blightbringer's team. Yeah, he's still thinking it over. It's still Blightbringer just trying not to punt this game. He's just going over every single set mentally and making sure he does not choke. He is mentally covering all the bases here. He knows this game will go his way, pending a massive choke here. There's a second Dragon Dance, Earthquake, huge damage. T-Tower will now be faster than everything for Blightbringer, but Rock Slide needs to flinch and doesn't, and that is going to be anticlimactic. Roro concedes, and we are going to a third game. There is no suspense necessary there. He needed a flinch, didn't get it, and that's going to be that. We're going to game 3. Either Roro or Blightbringer will be eliminated from this tournament in the next game. Good stuff. Both of those games relatively one-sided. We'll see how the third one goes. But the first one felt heavily favoring Roro, and that second one looked to me like it was basically all Blightbringer. Looking forward to that third game. But I'm going to put you guys on hold again for a drink. Please wait. Whew. Drinks are very important to the life of a narrator, my friends. Keep hydrated if you're going to try this at home. But yeah, man, that's where we are. I'm excited to see the game 3, which should be happening pretty much any time now. Neither game thus far has been overly close. Both of them have been relatively one-sided affairs, like I said. I would love a close game 3 just for the, the suspense of it and the sake of the viewing experience, but if for whatever reason it turns out that game 3 is not all that exciting, then it kind of is what it is. But we have not seen a super close one thus far. That is for sure. I mean, now you have to wonder what Roro's going to do to adjust. Blightbringer made the adjustment. He played a completely different kind of team from game 1 to game 2, and it obviously worked. So now if you're Blightbringer, what do you do? How do you adjust? Do you do the same kind of thing? He brought, well, I mean, granted, his game 2 team was different than his game 1 team in style. So maybe for Roro, the logical thing, I don't know if I necessarily agree with this, but I mean, my guess, just based on, psychology and the way that humans work and the way the mind works, blah, 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 my guess would be perhaps Roro is going to simply default back to what he thinks works, which is probably something along the lines of his game 1 team. He might go back to his reactive do-nothing teams, which I don't care for, but if that's what he thinks is best, if that's what he thinks gives him the best chance to win, then logically speaking, that's what he's most comfortable with, that's what he thinks gives him the best chance, then that's probably what he brings. But here's the game, so we're going to find out. For the third and final time, it's going to be McMegan on the bottom. He's got a Scarm lead this time, and it is Blightbringer on the top with a meta that immediately becomes a Magneton. Spikes come down, there is no Magneton check, and Thunderbolt fails to one-hit KO, so a second layer of spikes does come down. We'll see whether or not that matters or not. I felt like that did not enough damage to be a Magneton, so I think this might be a Magdoll situation, and now actually might be a great time to get the doll in if Blightbringer has that. There is an immediate Earthquake Revenge kill here, so we've got ourselves a very fast 5-5, much faster than some of the previous games. We were 50-something turns in game 1 without a knockout. Celebi instead is the choice for Blightbringer. This still could easily be a Magdoll situation. He may have done this just so he can baton pass out and get the benefit of switching into whatever he wants. No, it's a Swords Dance pass team for Blightbringer. Being very proactive here. I like that mindset. Coon is pretty good in this kind of situation and is likely to use Roar here, both to rack up Spike's damage and more importantly to prevent the Swords Dance from being passed somewhere good. And that play I think is smart from Blightbringer to simply Leech Seed it since he knows he's about to be phased out. And Leech Seed does in fact connect with the Coon. Zapdos on Zapdos now. Here's another Pokemon that very well may be contributing to a potential baton pass chain. Thunderbolt's going to make him faster than the opposing Zapdos, and Thunder Wave is going to make it so he's not. Now granted, if he baton passes here, he passes the agility and does not pass the paralysis, obviously. So even though Zapdos from Blightbringer is not faster right now, he could still pass and make it so something else is. But instead, he's content to go blow for blow, and they both do the exact same amount of damage, 26% here. Thunderbolt 30% this time, and it's going to be a second agility from Blightbringer. Getting greedy here, begging for bad full powers, but there is no sand, so maybe he can get away with this. He's going to pass to a very, very fast Marowak here, who's not gaining lefties because he will, of course, be holding Thick Club. See what he can do from here. The pressure is on Roro to find an answer here. This Marowak is going to hit very, very hard and very, very fast. He's going to need something that can withstand it. Ooh, and Blightbringer talking to him in the chat. He asks if he is toxic, which is probably a mind game. I don't know that toxic matters here. Maybe he's baiting him to try to stay in and use toxic so he gets hit by Rock Slide. But Blightbringer giving him a little chit-chat here. Perhaps trying to throw Roro off or get in his head or make him think a little bit here. Little bit of mental warfare here. I'm okay with that. I don't see anything at all unsportsmanlike about what he just said. And of course, it is Roro using the time right now. Do you at all blame him? He's staring down a Marowak that's faster than his whole team. That's going to be tough. He probably has to sacrifice a Pokemon and then just go to Coon and roar it out, which sucks, but that just might be the only way. I mean, if you go straight to Coon here, you're risking just taking 2 attacks and dying if Blightbringer predicts the Coon coming in. And you can't just let the Marowak sit there. You've got to phase it out. He goes to Coon now. Oh boy, I don't know about that. This is going to really hurt. That is a Swords Danced, double agility Marowak here, holding that very thick club, almost as thick as mine. And he is going to hit like a truck here. I don't know Marowak calcs well enough to know if it's a KO or not, but it's going to really, really, really hurt. And Coon gets out of the way, and I don't know what this accomplishes. It does waste Earthquake PP. Fine. Zapdos does get lefties. Fine. But I can tell you this, Calc, no problem. There is no way in hell that a Zapdos lives Rock Slide here from 75%. With the +2 Marowak, no chance. I think that was strictly to waste PP. I mean, it does force Rock Slide here. I don't think Blightbringer's donkey enough to go for Earthquake here and just get roared out. I mean, that would be a savage throw. And I don't think Blightbringer's going to do that. I think even if he suspects that Roro's going to double switch or Roro's just going to stay in and Toxic and risk death or whatever, I think Blightbringer realizes that he's obligated to Rock Slide here. But again, it is Roro taking the time. Now Blightbringer's also taking the time. Blightbringer has got to be thinking at this point about, why did he do that? Why is Zapdos there? He even says in the chat, interesting move, what are you planning? That might actually be genuine. Blightbringer trying to go over, why did you just do that? Swords Dance! No! He risks the critical hit or risks getting roared out. That is scary shit. He might actually just win now, but man, that could have been a throw and a half. But that second Swords Dance might just be game over right here, right now. That might be the ball game. This might be a Marowak giving McMegan the bone. Pun intended. Might be boning him, boys. Roro might be dead. Yeah, that is a concession. Wow. Anticlimactic. Turn 16. Roro concedes. He is going to be swept out of this in a jiffy by the Marowak. The thing gets super, super boosted. Had a one-turn window to miss Rock Slide. Does not miss Rock Slide. And just like that, in what many would perceive to be an upset, Roro is gone. Blightbringer, I have long advocated for and said is an underrated, underappreciated ADV player, and let this be a testament. He is deep in this tournament. He is 6 rounds deep into this tournament, and he has just knocked out the champ, the classic champion from this year, McMegan. Well done by Blightbringer. 2 of those games one-sided for him. Roro definitely with a good run in a very hard tournament. I appreciate Roro playing. I hope Roro plays next year. But this one, and the credit and the glory, goes to Blightbringer. Great job, dude. And that is the last match. Granted, it might not be as far as YouTube is concerned, because Job is slow as fuck and is never going to get me those replays. But this is, in real time, the last match of this round. So I'm going to get pairings up for the next round, and we are going to get to the real nitty-gritty of this tour coming up real soon. Thumbs up if you liked it.